Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are wrestling with uh, a really fundamental reality shift in the digital world,
A huge one.
and it's impacting every single business, from the largest multinational corporation all the way down to the smallest local shop.
Mm-hmm.
For decades, the entire strategy for getting seen online, for digital visibility, it all revolved around one simple mission.
Get the click.
Get the click. Exactly. You optimize for keywords. You fought tooth and nail for that top spot on a search results page.
Yeah.
And success was measured by that user clicking through to your website.
Right.
But that world, the world that was built on that list-based search is fundamentally over.
It's gone. We are now moving from a visibility economy that was all about optimization to a trust economy.
And what does that mean, a trust economy?
It means it's based on, well, architectural integrity and verifiable expertise. The old tricks just won't cut it.
That's the critical pivot, isn't it? The idea that simply stuffing your content with keywords or earning a few high-quality backlinks.
Those are strategic relics now. They might be necessary, you still need them to a degree, but they are completely insufficient on their own.
So we're facing a massive structural transformation.
We are, because right now, between your brand and your audience, there's a new intelligent gatekeeper sitting there.
Okay, so these are the AI assistants, the generative tools.
The co-pilots, all of them, these are the systems that synthesize information. They provide a definitive answer, not a list of 10 options.
Okay, let's unpack this core problem right away, because that's huge.
It is.
If the AI assistant is now the decisive gatekeeper, the one deciding what information gets synthesized and surfaced for the end user, and if your brand isn't part of that synthesis,
Then you're invisible.
you're functionally invisible. It's because the AI couldn't, verify or trust your content structure.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter how great your thought leadership is. If the machine won't serve it up, it might as well not exist.
So your amazing content, the best creative work ever published.
If its technical architecture is flawed, if it's messy, the AI will not hand it over. It just won't. So the mission of this deep dive is to lay out the strategic blueprint you need to thrive in this new reality.
Okay.
We're going deep into the structure, the technology, and crucially, the governance required to engineer algorithmic trust.
And this blueprint is what you're calling the 3D GEO SEOG marketing framework.
That's it. And it's really a shortcut for you, for the listener, to understand how to shift your focus from just creative storytelling to, well, technical architecture. An architecture designed to build structural proof that machines can calculate and verify.
So we've got 3 Ds, 2 acronyms, and a G. Before we dive into all the technicalities, let's just quickly frame what those components are.
Yeah, let's break it down into layers. So the 3 strategic pillars, the Ds, they define the whole trajectory.
Okay.
First is discover, where we make your internal expertise machine readable. Then differentiate, where you establish your algorithmic authority among all your competitors.
And finally,
Dominate. That's where you scale that authority using coherent AI operations.
so discover, differentiate, dominate. That's the strategy. What about the optimization layers?
Right, so then we have GEO, which is Generative Engine Optimization. That's the crucial new focus on becoming a trusted source for that AI synthesis. And then there's SEO, Search Engine Optimization.
Which is still around.
It's still necessary for the traditional list-based search. You can't ignore it. And then finally, the foundational layer that holds it all together is Govern.
Govern.
That's what ensures the entire system maintains sustainability through data, through process, and through ethical integrity.
The logic here is really compelling. We are no longer just fighting for attention. We are engineering trust so that the machines actually recommend us.
That's it in a nutshell.
All right, let's start with section 1 and look at this new reality and the generative engine optimization, or GEO, shift.
Let's do it.
The source material provides a story that, for me, it just immediately crystallized this entire problem. The idea that visibility has fundamentally become a matter of algorithmic trust.
I think I know the one you mean.
It's this scenario. A procurement director at a big manufacturing company opens their new internal AI co-pilot, and she asks for recommendations. Something like, which consulting firms specialize in supply chain resilience for the automotive sector?
A very specific, high-value query.
Exactly. The system surfaces a short list of 5 names. 2 are major competitors the director expected to see, but 3 are smaller specialized firms she's never even heard of.
And the big well-known firm is missing.
The firm that has spent a decade building massive brand recognition and publishing incredible thought leadership, the firm everyone knows, isn't even mentioned.
And that's where the panic sets in for the leadership team. Their brand is instantly invisible, right where it matters most.
At the point of decision synthesis.
Exactly. And the devastating realization is that the machine found the firm's content. It's indexed on search engines. It's there. But when it moved to that RGAD pipeline, the retrieval augmented generation, it just couldn't verify the expertise to a high enough confidence level.
It didn't trust the content enough.
Didn't trust it enough to include it on that crucial shortlist. So yeah, the firm was visible to people who searched directly for their name, but they were invisible to the systems that now mediate that initial buyer's journey.
You said something really key there. The buyer's journey starts before the buyer clicks. It starts with the prompt.
It absolutely does. The prompt is the new starting line.
That is a fundamental change in the ROI calculation for marketing. It means we have to stop optimizing for the click and aggressively shift all our resources to optimizing for the synthesis.
Precisely. And that leads us directly to defining GEO, generative engine optimization.
So what is it exactly?
GEO is the systematic practice of optimizing your content to be consumed, understood, and most importantly, confidently used by large language models and AI tools.
The systems that are tasked with compiling that single, definitive, synthesized answer for a user.
Yes. The goal is no longer winning position 1 on a search list. The goal is becoming the verified, trusted source that these systems cite, or more often, use as the factual bedrock for their definitive response.
So we need to really understand how the old path contrasts with the new one. Can you walk us through the fundamental difference in the search pipelines?
Let's start with what we all know, the SEO pipeline. It's a journey focused on, well, proximity.
Right.
The user queries the search engine, the algorithm returns a list of results, the user performs a cognitive scan, they click on a link, and that's when the brand relationship begins on your site.
It's a competition for a spot on a list.
It is. And success is measured by rankings, click-through rates, and conversions on your domain. It's a direct relationship.
And the biggest risk for the brand is just the user scrolling past your link.
Correct. The GEO pipeline, though, is fundamentally a relationship of mediation and synthesis. It's totally different. The user queries an AI system, and that AI system performs this massive simultaneous knowledge synthesis across billions of data points. The user gets a generated response, an answer, not a list of 10 options.
And your content just informs that answer.
It informs that answer. Sometimes you might get credited with a citation, which is great, but often the credit is just absorbed into the synthesized result. The influence happens through the AI's recommendation or factual statement, often without a site visit at all.
Okay, hold on. I have to push back on this point a bit because this is where the CFO is going to balk.
Of course.
For years, we've fought for attribution, for the click, for that one metric that proves the content drove traffic. If influence now matters more than guaranteed, measurable attribution, how do we sell this internally?
It's the right question to ask.
Is the only justification the massive loss of visibility and market share if we don't play this game?
That's a huge part of it, but it's more than that. The justification is that the battle has shifted from the conversion funnel to what you could call the trust funnel.
It's a trust funnel.
Yeah. If you are not architected for GEO, you are excluded from the initial consideration set. You lose the opportunity to even influence the answer. The click matters a lot less if the customer never knows you exist in the first place.
Or worse, if they're given an alternate trusted recommendation by the machine.
Exactly. We are now in the business of measuring algorithmic trust, which is a pre-metric to all those traditional performance indicators.
Understood. So that structural difference dictates a complete overhaul of our technology stack. How do the necessary technologies for SEO and GEO diverge?
They're focused on entirely different outcomes. The traditional SEO stack is geared toward, let's call it mechanical victory. Meaning ensuring crawlable architecture, optimizing keyword density, building backlinks, maximizing page speed. These are all about maximizing the chance of getting on the list.
Okay. And the GEO stack?
The GEO stack focus, however, is on maximizing verifiability. It prioritizes structured data and schema markup, semantic content architecture, integrating into a knowledge graph, verified author attribution, and consistent entity representation across the board.
So if I'm hearing you right, the SEO stack says, help the crawler find me.
Yep.
While the GEO stack says, make it possible for the AI systems to verify, trust, and synthesize me. That architectural verifiability, that seems to be the key insight here.
It is, but you have to remember the two must
You
coexist.
can't just do one.
No, AI systems still pull a lot of their content from search indexes, so traditional SEO excellence, being indexed and found, is still necessary for your content to even enter that RAG retrieval phase.
Oh, without the GEO architecture.
That content will only be listed for humans. It won't be synthesized by the machine.
Let's apply this to the ground level, the local business.
Yeah.
What's the specific challenge or the local GEO imperative that AI introduces for someone running, say, a restaurant, a dentist's office, or a local service?
For local businesses, the situation is even more acute. AI systems turn standard local signals into immediate, unforgiving trust gates.
What do you mean by trust gates?
I mean, you have to achieve and maintain a level of meticulous data hygiene that, frankly, very few businesses currently manage. Your Google business profile is now your single most valuable asset.
More than the website itself.
In many ways, yes. It has to be perfectly meticulously updated across every single field, your hours, the services you offer, key attributes, and especially your Q&A responses.
And what about online reviews? How do they function as a machine-level trust signal beyond just the obvious human perspective?
Well, AI systems prioritize 4 factors in reviews: volume, sentiment, and crucially, recency.
Recency is more important than the rating.
In many models, yes. The source material suggests a business with, say, 200 recent 4.5-star reviews carries significantly more weight in the synthesis phase than one with 50 older, even slightly higher-rated 4.8-star reviews.
Why is that?
Recency equals relevance in the AI economy. It signals an active, engaged, and currently operational business. Old reviews could be for a business under previous management, for example. The AI can't know that, so it trusts what's recent.
Okay, and what is the single most critical structural requirement? The small detail that, if you miss it, can immediately invalidate a local business's algorithmic trust.
NAP consistency. Name, address, and phone number.
NAP.
They must be exactly identical across every single platform, every directory, every social media profile, and every listing, no exceptions.
So you're saying even a tiny difference, like using street instead of Saint
Well,
Set.
the phone number changed on one directory and not another. That is an immediate, and I mean catastrophic, loss of algorithmic trust.
Why is that tiny contradiction so fatal for the machine?
Because the AI is designed for truth detection and error correction. If a machine detects conflicting core entity data, your name, your address, your location, it cannot confidently assert which piece of data is the correct one.
And lacking that confidence.
It defaults to exclusion. The algorithm marks the source as unreliable and simply excludes it from the recommendation synthesis. The machine assumes you're unreliable and moves on to the next source that can demonstrate verifiable structural coherence.
So one tiny error, and you're out of the game.
You're out. It's that simple and that brutal.
Now we have to move into the technical deep dive, which is crucial for understanding why that inconsistency is so deadly. We have to dissect the two-stage process the AI uses to select and present information, known as retrieval augmented generation, or RG.
Right.
This is the mechanism we are optimizing against.
And understanding RG is really the bridge between marketing strategy and data science. It's the pipeline that converts your existing content into a viable source for a generative answer.
And it has 4 sequential phases.
4 phases. And failure in any one of them means your content is skipped. It's out of the running.
Okay, walk us through the 4 phases of the RE pipeline, starting with my content entering this system.
So phase 1 is indexing. This is where your content, your articles, your documents, your web pages gets prepared. It's converted into mathematical representations called vector embeddings.
Mathematical representation.
Think of it like a numerical fingerprint for meaning. Every logical segment, a paragraph, a short section, becomes a set of numbers that mathematically captures its semantic meaning.
And there's a critical failure point here.
A huge one, which we'll come back to, is poor segmentation. If your content is just one massive block of text, the algorithm breaks it down arbitrarily, and the resulting mathematical chunk is meaningless. It's useless for retrieval.
So quality content is digitized into these mathematical fingerprints. What's phase 2?
Phase 2 is retrieval. When a user asks the AI a question, their question is also converted into a vector embedding. The system then searches its vector database for content chunks whose mathematical fingerprints, their vector embeddings, most closely match the query's embedding.
And this is the first trust gate.
It is. If your content was poorly structured or incoherently segmented back in phase 1, it's just not going to match accurately in phase 2. It gets filtered out right there.
Okay, but let's say it passes. The system successfully retrieves a set of my content chunks. What happens next?
We move to phase 3, augmentation. The most relevant passages that pass that retrieval test are injected into the large language model's working memory as context. This is where confidence is finalized.
So it's not just about finding the info, but about how it looks when you find it.
Exactly. If these retrieved passages lack coherence, say they start mid-sentence or they contradict each other, or one chunk is followed by a completely unrelated chunk, the AI's internal confidence score drops dramatically.
Which, if the confidence drops, means the content is likely just discarded before the final step.
Precisely. Which brings us to phase 4, generation. Using only the retrieved and augmented context that pass that final confidence check, the AI synthesizes the final natural language response.
And if my content provided structurally perfect, coherent context,
Then the generated answer will rely heavily on it. You'll be the source of truth. But if your content is messy, the AI will just rely on its generalized, less authoritative knowledge, or worse, it'll simply cite one of your competitors.
let's go back to that lost in the middle problem you mentioned, because this perfectly illustrates this architectural barrier.
Yeah, it's a great example.
So we have a financial services firm with this beautiful, high-quality, long-form guide on investment strategies. It ranks well on traditional search, but it fails the R-read test. Why?
It fails because of that lack of clear structural boundaries. When the RE system's indexing algorithms process that guide, they break that elegant prose into arbitrary fixed-size chunks, let's say 512 characters each.
So it's not looking for sentences or paragraphs.
No, it's just chopping it up. The section explaining municipal bonds might be cut off mid-sentence, or the chunk might accidentally include part of the conclusion from the previous section on a totally different topic.
So when a user asks about tax-advantaged investment vehicles, the system retrieves those partially segmented broken chunks.
Right. The retrieved chunks are semantically relevant. They contain the right words, but they're structurally incoherent. They lack the necessary context to form a self-contained, verifiable piece of information.
And so the RG system's confidence score.
It immediately drops, and that high-quality guide is passed over in favor of a competitor's content that was structured using simple bullet points and clear, labeled sections. The quality of the information becomes irrelevant if the architecture prevents a clean, verifiable extraction.
This means we have to address what you call the content discovery iceberg. The idea that there are all these hidden layers beneath the visible text that truly determine algorithmic trust.
The visible article is just the tip, yes.
So what are these submerged layers we have to master?
There are 4 crucial submerged layers. The first and the most foundational is schema implementation.
The structured metadata.
Right. Using protocols like FAQ, review, local business, organization, or person schema, it transforms your human-readable content into precise, machine-understandable data. It tells the AI, I am a financial professional, not I'm just some text.
So schema tells the machines who you are and what the relationships are between things.
Exactly. Then the next layer down is entity mapping. This is where you define and map your core concepts, your products, your services, and your experts. These are the foundational building blocks of your brand's internal knowledge graph.
You need a canonical list of how your company name, your product names, all of it are referenced everywhere.
Yes, no variations. The third layer is semantic clusters. We have to move past the idea of just having scattered blog posts.
So you group all related content by an overarching theme.
You do. Instead of 10 disparate articles on manufacturing efficiency, you build a comprehensive knowledge ecosystem grouped under a master topic cluster. This depth of coverage demonstrates domain authority through its breadth and completeness, making it easier for the AI to draw comprehensive context.
And the final layer, the one you said, is the integrity checkpoint that can sink the entire iceberg.
Data hygiene. This is the critical and often ignored process of eliminating inconsistencies across your entire dataset.
One contradiction can ruin it all.
A single verifiable contradiction, a conflicting product description, an outdated credential for an expert, duplicate information on 2 different parts of your website that can invalidate your entire data set in an algorithmic evaluation. Machines cannot trust contradictory sources. They seek structural proof of a truth.
So if that long-form prose is failing the RG system, what is the architectural solution? How do we impose this structural clarity through what you call semantic chunking?
We implement a dedicated GEO content architecture framework. It's built on 4 pillars designed specifically to enhance AI understanding.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, we treat heading hierarchies as semantic boundaries. Your H2 and H3 headings must function as clear technical delimiters. Every H2 section must be a self-contained unit that fully addresses one specific topic.
So we're using the structure of the HTML itself, not just the content, to signal meaning to the machine.
Exactly. Second, we use a parent-child architecture. This is a more advanced technique for indexing.
How does that work?
We index small, focused segments, the children for precision during the retrieval search. When a match is found on a child, the system retrieves the larger surrounding context, the parent section for accuracy and guaranteed coherence.
So that prevents the lost in the middle problem because the context is structurally guaranteed to be there.
That's the idea. The third element turns the entire page into a clear answer key for the machine.
And that's the mini blog model.
Right. You frame every major section of your long-form content as a complete, self-contained mini blog that answers one specific question. You frame the section headings as questions, and then you answer that question fully within that section. And you can reinforce this by adding internal FAQ schema markup to those sections.
Finally, what are the structural elements that AI just loves? The ones it prioritizes for high confidence extraction.
This is so crucial for content layout. AI systems are specifically trained to extract and rely on structured information. This means mandatory use of tables, lists, and FAQ sections.
Why those specific?
Well, AI extracts tabular data with high confidence because the data fields are explicitly labeled. It knows what's in each column and row. Lists, whether they're bulleted or numbered, signal a clear enumeration that's easy for the AI to parse, and FAQ sections are the most AI-friendly format of all.
Because they present explicit questions with direct, concise answers.
Mirroring exactly the kind of output generative systems are designed to provide. You're basically pre-formatting the answer for them.
Okay, when you mentioned content entering the RAG system, you briefly touched on a major structural hurdle for a lot of companies, the JavaScript problem. Let's revisit that because it sounds like an immediate blockade to phase 1, indexing.
Oh, it's a huge one, and it's often overlooked. Most generative AI crawlers and the general search indexes they rely on, they just do not fully execute complex JavaScript.
So if your most important citation-worthy content, your product specs, your case studies, your deep research, if that requires JavaScript to render the critical text on the page,
then you have functionally prevented the AI from indexing it.
the AI crawler just sees an empty or a partial page where all your great content is supposed to be.
It sees an empty bucket. You've structurally blocked discovery before you've even started, even if your content is perfectly optimized for keywords. The technical solution here requires switching to server-side rendering or static site generation.
And the goal there is to ensure that the complete rendered HTML content is delivered to the crawler on the very first request.
Yes. If the content isn't in that initial HTML payload, it is effectively invisible to the machine intelligence.
And you mentioned schema is the content's API. Can you elaborate a bit on the power of combining schemas?
Yeah, so schema markup is foundational. Implementing organization schema, for example, defines your company entity, its name, location, social profiles. But the real power comes from what we can call combinatorial schema.
Meaning you use multiple relevant schema types at the same time on a single page.
Exactly. So if you have an expert writing a product review, you should simultaneously use review schema, product schema, and person schema for the expert. The source material indicates this combinatorial approach can increase algorithmic citation rates by a factor of 2 to 7.
2 to 7 times.
That's what the data suggests, because you are providing exponentially more structured proof. All of this combines to actively construct your own internal content knowledge graph.
We have established the technical necessity of GEO. So now let's transition to the strategic phases of this 3D GEO SEOG framework. We're moving into the tactical execution, starting with phase 1, discover.
Right. Discover is the foundational strategic phase. The goal here is simple. Make your existing expertise machine readable.
It's all about that translation layer.
It is. The focus is on structured data, achieving entity clarity, and building that semantic content architecture we just detailed. We need to internalize that modern AI systems understand and interpret the relationships between entities, the people, the companies, the concepts. If your brand's data isn't structured around these relationships, The AI just cannot see you clearly as a coherent entity.
Let's use the management consulting application to make this real. How does an established consulting firm fail discovery, and what's the fix?
Okay, so imagine this firm publishes extensive content on strategic frameworks. When a generative AI tool is queried about best practices for corporate restructuring, the firm's excellent content is never surfaced.
And the root cause?
The root cause is semantic chaos in their materials. One internal team calls their methodology the adaptive growth model. Another team uses the phrase strategic evolution framework. A third team, maybe in a different country, uses the transformation acceleration approach.
To the machine, those are three entirely unrelated, inconsistent sources. The entity is completely undefined.
Precisely. The solution is semantic standardization. The firm has to unify all that terminology under one canonical taxonomy.
One official name for it.
Yes, and use that exact term consistently everywhere, and then implement structured schema across all their digital properties defining that framework. They need to create comprehensive content hubs that explicitly link that unified framework name to the specific consultants, case studies, and client outcomes.
So it transforms the firm from being just unintelligible noise into a unified, trustworthy concept that the AI can actually cite.
That's the goal.
And what about a high-stakes environment like regional healthcare systems?
Oh, healthcare systems face major visibility issues, especially when patients ask AI health assistants about specialized care, like advanced oncology. The problem is structural legibility.
How so?
Physician profiles often exist as these long, unstructured biographies. It's just a wall of text, making it impossible for the AI to connect that doctor to verifiable outcomes. There's no schema linking the doctors to their specialties, their publications, or their specific clinical focus areas.
So they have the expertise,
Yeah.
but the structure is actively hiding it from the machines.
Exactly. The fix here is a major technical effort. It means implementing physician entity schemas and creating structured specialty pages that define clear semantic relationships.
And the result?
The result is that when AI health assistants are queried about specialized care, the doctors from these organizations start appearing, and not through advertising spend, but because the machines can verify their credentials, their institutional affiliations, and their specific areas of expertise instantly. That's the power of Discover.
That covers Discover making ourselves readable. Now, how do we move to phase two? Differentiate. This is where we engineer algorithmic authority. We're moving beyond just being readable to being preferred.
Differentiate is all about making your authority machine trusted. The focus shifts entirely to expert attribution, ensuring narrative consistency and building citation readiness.
So we have to internalize that AI doesn't evaluate emotional tone or, creative design.
No, it evaluates structural proof. Algorithmic authority is fundamentally based on depth, consistency, and, most critically, attribution-clear ownership by identifiable, verifiable experts.
So anonymous content is a liability.
Anonymous content carries very low algorithmic confidence and is often just relegated to general knowledge pools. It's not seen as authoritative.
And that structural proof of expertise is what bridges traditional EAT expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness, into the machine age.
It's the technical implementation of EAT, and it requires implementing expert identity systems.
What does that mean in practice?
It means every subject matter expert must have a dedicated profile assigned with structured author schema detailing all their credentials, their institutional position, and their publication history. The machine needs to understand their verifiable proof of expertise. If your content is the output of an expert, the AI needs to be able to cite the expert, not just the company.
Can you give us the life sciences application here?
Sure. Biotech companies frequently produce crucial scientific insights, but they publish them under these generic team names like the Research Communications Department.
I've seen that 100 times.
Right. To the machine, this just signals anonymity, and the algorithmic confidence plummets. The transformation requires a comprehensive person schema implementation. When content is attributed to named researchers with structured profiles, AI systems begin citing individual scientists by name and affiliation. This makes the authority structurally provable and traceable.
So the machine is effectively giving the expert a digital reputation that, in turn, enhances the company's reputation.
Exactly. Or consider the industrial manufacturing sector. They generate masses of highly detailed technical specifications, but they're often buried in isolated, static documents like PDFs.
Which are hard for machines to parse.
Very. So when engineering distributors use AI assistants for equipment recommendations, those manufacturers are often excluded because their data lacks clear trust signals. The documentation just exists in a vacuum, without structured connections between the product, its applications, and any expert guidance.
So how do they differentiate themselves from others with similar tech specs?
By restructuring their entire content library into semantic clusters. Every product family needs to be explicitly connected to application guides, implementation case studies, and commentary from named, verifiable engineers.
Using those structural elements we talked about.
Yes, by mandating FAQ schema on every product page and documenting things with structured transcripts, the manufacturers make their technical authority instantly verifiable and extractable by generative systems. This is the difference between simply having the data and having the data be machine trusted.
We've established the structural foundation with discover and the proof of expertise with differentiate. Now we have to talk about scale with phase 3. Dominate. This is where we operationalize authority using AI operations to ensure that as we grow, we don't accidentally undermine our hard-won trust.
Dominate is all about achieving absolute coherence at scale. The strategic focus is on AI integration, workflow automation, and centralized knowledge orchestration.
Because if you have, say, 100 salespeople and 50 different marketing campaigns, the risk of narrative contradiction is massive.
It's huge. Domination means mastering that internal consistency.
The source material mentions this scaling crisis where high-volume internal content production just leads to noise and contradiction. How does that practically manifest?
Oh, it's the classic B2B technology platform problem. Sales teams, they're desperate to customize proposals, so they generate dozens of new documents every week, often just copying and improvising product descriptions.
And things get out of sync.
Instantly. One proposal says the service offers real-time processing. Another, slightly older document says near real-time. A third one, drafted from an old internal memo, uses sub-second processing.
And when a prospect's AI assistant is comparing vendors.
Those small contradictions, all originating from the same company, are fatal to algorithmic trust. The machine sees a lack of coherence, and it just eliminates the company from consideration.
So the dominant solution is centralization and automation.
The solution is implementing an AI-powered content operations system built on a centralized knowledge base. This base contains every single verified canonical statement about your products, your methodologies, and your brand stance.
And then you use an internal AI assistant.
An internal AI assistant, trained exclusively on this approved library, then generates the customized sales documents. This ensures the brand speaks with one verifiable voice across hundreds of disparate outputs, maintaining perfect structural consistency. This operational coherence directly improves the model recall rate, or MRR, which is a key metric we'll discuss later.
That makes perfect sense for scaling consistency. Now let's move to the ultimate pillar. Phase G, govern. This is what sustains truth at scale. If dominate is the speed, govern is the safety net.
Governance is absolutely 100% non-negotiable for compounding authority over time. As AI accelerates production, allowing us to create content faster than ever before, governance becomes the operating system that ensures reliability and ethics.
It embeds discipline so that creativity and automation can coexist without undermining the structural proof we've worked so hard to build.
Precisely.
And the source outlines 3 non-negotiable pillars of governance.
The first is data governance. This ensures fundamental accuracy and reliability through strict version control and, critically, metadata freshness protocols.
What does that mean, freshness protocols?
It means clear ownership for every data element and automated systems tracking when that data was last verified. Is this information from last week or from 5 years ago? The machine needs to know.
Okay, and the second pillar is about ensuring accountability in the production process.
That's process governance. It establishes strict accountability for every single asset. This means clear, automated approval hierarchies for all AI-generated content and robust audit trails, linking every published piece back to its source data, the AI model that was used, and the human who signed off on it.
And the third, the integrity check for the AI outputs themselves.
Ethical governance. This involves continually monitoring for inherent bias, managing tone drift, and maintaining transparency logs for every AI-assisted output. You have to establish strict, enforceable guidelines for what the AI can and cannot say on your brand's behalf, ensuring that its outputs always align with your verifiable truth.
The financial services governance example powerfully illustrates the danger of missing data governance, especially when dealing with rapidly changing information.
The problem was acute. A financial advisory firm was using AI drafting tools to quickly generate personalized investment summaries for clients, and they narrowly avoided a major compliance crisis.
What happened?
They realized an AI-generated summary was recommending tax advantages based on specific regulations that had expired months earlier. The source data was technically available in their system, but it hadn't been flagged as obsolete.
So the fix wasn't to stop using AI.
No, not at all. The fix was to increase structural control over the data feeding it.
And how do they do that?
The solution was a governance transformation that implemented real-time monitoring. Every piece of regulatory data received a last verified timestamp. When that information aged past a defined threshold, the system automatically blocked all internal AI tools from using it in generated content. Governance ensures the organization is reliably fast and reliably compliant.
And what about the narrative coherence challenge for a large organization like an agricultural cooperative, where different departments might have different perspectives on a topic?
That's the governance failure of contradiction. You have one resource published by the sustainability team promoting organic certification as essential. Then another, published by the supply chain team, suggests conventional approaches are more profitable and scalable.
And when stakeholders query AI assistance for guidance, they get conflicting recommendations from the same organization.
Exactly. The solution requires restructuring the knowledge base around a unified narrative. Content has to be tagged so that AI systems understand when to present coherent trade-offs or balanced perspectives rather than outright contradictory advice. The guidance then feels trustworthy because it is coherently complex, not just confused.
This entire shift fundamentally redefines digital leadership. The force suggests the CMO role is evolving into the chief visibility architect.
Yes.
And that demands systems thinking, technical literacy, and data architecture expertise. We're moving marketing out of the realm of pure soft skills here.
That is the new standard. The chief visibility architect doesn't just manage brand. They oversee a complex ecosystem that blends creativity, data engineering, and ethical governance. This necessitates a massive organizational shift.
So marketing operations must evolve into visibility operations.
Which is a technical function, yes.
That means we need entirely new roles that bridge that traditional gap between IT and the creative teams.
Absolutely. Organizations need to hire or develop semantic content architects professionals who understand both editorial strategy and the technical markup required for machine comprehension. You need a schema governance committee to maintain those canonical entity definitions and continuously audit data consistency.
And it has to be an ongoing process.
A permanent function. AI visibility monitoring must become a permanent function, regularly querying major AI platforms to track your citation frequency, analyze the quality of the synthesized answers, and benchmark your competitor presence.
And the way content is approached has to change before a single word is even written. Thought leadership becomes entity leadership.
It's a pre-content requirement. Before any substantial piece of content is created, you have to map it out. What specific canonical entities does it reference? Which schema types apply? How does it connect to our existing semantic clusters? And which verifiable expert should be attributed as the author?
So you are effectively designing the machine's understanding first, then writing the content around that structure.
That's it, exactly.
Which means we need to treat expert profiles as strategic assets, using detailed person schema.
Comprehensive bio pages with detailed person schema are essential. They must document credentials, institutional publications, speaking engagements, and link all authored content back to that specific profile. This structural attribution is critical. If we don't attribute the knowledge to a high EAT entity, the machine intelligence just assigns it low confidence.
So if the CMO is now the chief visibility architect, what does the new dashboard look like? The metrics must shift entirely from performance indicators like clicks to trust indicators like verifiability.
The dashboard has to measure algorithmic confidence. We have 4 essential new metrics that will replace or at least heavily influence the old KPIs.
That's the first one.
First is the AI citation rate, ACR. This is your gauge of external algorithmic trust. It measures how often machines cite your brand, your product, or your expert when generating answers for relevant queries. It's the metric that proves you're essential to the conversation.
So how often we are the authoritative source? What about long-term structural authority, proving we are truly woven into the web of knowledge?
That's the Knowledge Graph Penetration Index, KGPI. This measures how deeply embedded and consistently defined your brand entity across both internal and external structured knowledge ecosystems.
What does a high KGPI tell you?
A high KGPI indicates that your structural data is resilient and consistently validated across multiple independent data sources. It signals long-term structural authority. It's tracking how many degrees of separation exist between your key experts and related external industry entities.
Okay, and for internal consistency, making sure our own house is perfectly in order before we broadcast externally.
That is the model recall rate, MRR. This tracks how accurately your internal AI systems, your sales copilot, your internal knowledge chatbot retrieve only approved, verified content. A high MRR means your internal teams are pulling from the single source of truth, ensuring every employee speaks with one verifiable voice.
And finally, the proof that this entire system is ethical and sustainable.
That's the governance compliance rate, GCR. This is the percentage of AI-generated assets, whether internal or external, that pass the governance review process data freshness checks, compliance audit trails, and bias monitoring.
A high GCR ensures your speed and scale don't compromise accuracy or ethics.
Exactly. So collectively, high ACR means prospects discover you through AI recommendation. High MRR means your teams are perfectly consistent. And a high GCR ensures that consistency is sustainable and ethical.
We've covered strategy and metrics, but none of this works without the foundational technical infrastructure. Let's dedicate some time to the prerequisites that AI engineering teams have to build to support this framework.
Right. This is the physical and digital foundation upon which all algorithmic trust is built.
So where does it start?
The technical foundation starts with the brand knowledge graph. This is a structured database, often a graph database, that maps explicit relationships between all your core entities, your products, services, experts, concepts, methodologies. It is your organization's digital nervous system.
It's not just storing records, it's explicitly defining the relationships between them.
Exactly. When your chief expert publishes an article, the knowledge graph explicitly connects that content node to their credentials node, to your specific products node, to relevant case studies, and so on. Every entity must be uniquely identified. Every relationship called an edge must be explicitly defined.
So not just expert X mentioned paper Y, but something more specific.
Right. Expert X co-authored paper Y. Every attribute has to be consistently formatted. This structural network is what allows an AI to trace expertise instantly.
And the key technology that allows AI systems to find this content based on meaning, not just keywords. You mentioned vector databases.
Vector databases are absolutely non-negotiable for making your content retrievable by modern AI systems. Think of an embedding not as a keyword tag, but as a digital fingerprint existing in a multidimensional space.
And when an AI gets a query,
It converts that query into an embedding. Your content must exist in that same mathematical space to be discovered efficiently. Keywords are binary, yes or no. Vectors allow the machine to calculate degrees of semantic similarity, how conceptually close two documents are. That's why it handles nuance so much better than traditional keyword search ever could.
and you mentioned that controlling the embedding process is a strategic advantage. How so?
When you control the embedding process, you can optimize the content for the specific retrieval systems that will use it. Instead of waiting for external AI systems to process your content arbitrarily, you're pre-processing it optimally.
What does that involve?
It involves intelligently semantic chunking the content, using those structural boundaries we discussed, generating the embeddings, enriching those embeddings with robust metadata like entity tags and schema markup, and then indexing them for fast, accurate similarity searches. Done correctly, this pre-optimization means your content is 3 to 5 times more likely to be retrieved and cited.
This leads us to the most sophisticated technical goal, a hybrid search architecture.
Yeah, the most sophisticated teams don't rely on just one search method. They use a hybrid search architecture.
So they're combining vector similarity.
With traditional keyword search for finding exact matches and knowledge graph traversal for validating relationships, the result is a response that isn't just semantically similar, but is contextually rich, accurate, and verified by attribution.
So that's the difference between being cited as a source mentioned on the web versus...
According to Dr. So-and-so, Chief Research Officer at your company, the methodology is. That's the difference.
And this architecture requires synchronization across the entire digital ecosystem. We can't have silos.
Integration is essential. Your content management system, your CMS, needs automated pipelines that extract new content, parse schema, and validate entity references against the knowledge graph in real time. This has to be continuous synchronization, not a manual export once a quarter.
And the knowledge management system, KMS, becomes the ultimate control plane.
The single source of brand truth.
So changes in the KMS must instantly cascade through the whole system.
Absolutely. If a product specification is updated in the KMS, that change has to automatically update the knowledge graph and all the vector databases. Governance approvals in the KMS must unlock content for use in AI-powered tools. When your product team updates a specification, that change has to propagate instantly to every system where AI might encounter your brand, your website, your chatbots, your sales tools, and external platforms. This minimizes the chance of algorithmic trust failure due to stale data.
Before we move to the final thoughts, let's tie this entire framework back to the established quality guidelines. Google's EAT model experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
It's a perfect mapping. The 3D Geo SEOG marketing framework is essentially EEAT engineered for intelligent systems. We are signaling the exact same qualities, but through structural, technical proof rather than just relying on content quality alone.
So how does the framework map to those four elements?
Okay, so the discover phase handles experience. We implement structured schema, making first-hand experience machine-readable. For example, product reviews would include reviewer schema, linking the user experience directly to the product entity.
And expertise and authoritativeness.
That's covered by the differentiate phase. Expert attribution systems, structured expert profiles, credential schemas, these things directly demonstrate the deep expertise that AI systems can assess and verify. And the dominate phase ensures that authoritativeness is maintained at scale. We use AI operations to generate consistent, unified content, building institutional authority through reliable knowledge.
And the ultimate quality, trustworthiness.
That is upheld by the govern phase. The governance systems ensure accuracy, maintain freshness through continuous monitoring, and embed ethical oversight into the whole process. They provide the structural foundation of trustworthiness that both human regulators and machine intelligence systems have to be able to validate.
Finally, let's look at the tactical steps for e-commerce and merchandising leaders. Product owners have the most crucial data, and it often just sits in silos.
For product owners, their data is now the core AI infrastructure. They have to completely restructure their product information architecture.
What does that mean in practice?
It means implementing comprehensive product schema on every single listing with detailed specifications, real-time availability, and aggregated review schema. Critical details like use cases and compatibility must use structured attributes rather than being hidden in long, unstructured description paragraphs.
And those tables we mentioned earlier, they are non-negotiable for product data.
Absolutely non-negotiable. Product comparison tables are essential for citation readiness because AI systems extract tabular data with exponentially higher confidence than they do parsing prose. Comparison tables showing how products differ across key attributes make AI selection easy.
And critically, those specifications must synchronize instantly across all internal and external touchpoints.
Instantly. Inconsistent pricing or availability across channels destroys AI trust instantly because it creates an immediate solvable contradiction. The machine sees two different prices and trusts neither.
This has been an incredibly comprehensive deep dive into what is clearly not just a marketing or content shift, but an absolute architectural imperative across the entire organization.
It really is.
The central message remains. The future of marketing is not about fighting algorithms for a position on a list. It is about architecting the underlying data so that the algorithms must cite you.
The winning brands will be those that prioritize structural clarity, consistent attribution, and strict governance. This means the strategic move is from being a creative content publisher to becoming an authoritative data source.
So when the CFO asks her AI assistant for vendor recommendations, the machine doesn't show ads.
It synthesizes verifiable structural trust signals, and if you have them, you're on the list. If you don't, you're not.
The technical strategic partnership between marketing and AI engineering is what transforms GEO from an aspiration to a viable, verifiable architecture. We must ensure every facet of the organization is machine-readable and machine-trusted.
And that leads to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. The ultimate measure of readiness isn't your website's ranking in traditional search or your click-through rate. It is the structural coherence of your entire organization.
So it's an internal audit first.
It has to be. If your internal product documentation, your sales decks, and your central knowledge management systems contradict each other, your brand fundamentally lacks the structural proof required for algorithmic trust.
So when machines start deciding who matters next,
the question every leader must ask is this. Does the world's intelligence, the global knowledge graph, understand who we are? If the answer is anything less than a resounding yes, then everything else you publish is simply noise.